Chair Stone, we are live and ready to begin.
All right. There's Brandon, Helena. I'm just waiting on Jason. Councillor Fitzgerald, are you there?
The host has stopped my video. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
The host is asking me to start my video. There you go.
There she goes.
I can,
right.
oh,
Want
good morning.
to call this meeting to order and welcome everyone to the hearing. This meeting is being held electronically in accordance with Section 238 of the Municipal Act 2001. The procedures of the meeting are as per the town's procedural bylaw and the electronic meeting protocol during emergencies. And I declare that the whole committee is here. I would like to respectfully acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe under terms of the Robinson-Huron Treaty number 61 of 1850 and the Williams Treaties of 1923. We commit to acknowledge, learn, educate, create opportunity, honor sacred places, and take actions toward real truth and reconciliation in support of our commitment to walking the path together in respect, peace, and harmony for future generations. And I have a motion moved by Brandon Stapleton, seconded by Jason Fitzgerald. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment agenda dated May 12, 2021 be hereby adopted as printed and circulated. All in favor? And that's carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? And I think there's one right there.
Thank you, Chair Stone. Yeah, I have a pecuniary interest on the first report to have 2021-49 AO4 2021 HTE McWilliam for personal reasons. He's a close personal friend.
Thank you for that. Moved by Kenneth Donald, seconded by Helena Renwick. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes dated April 14, 2021, and the recommendations contained therein be hereby adopted as printed and circulated. All in favor? And that's carried. I'd like to welcome everyone to the public meetings to consider applications for minor variances to the zoning bylaw. The input received by agencies, public, and staff is important in order for the committee to make sound planning decisions. The procedure to be followed in these meetings will be as follows. A brief explanation of the application and any correspondence received to date will be given by staff. The applicant or the representative will be asked to provide any additional comments without repeating the information already outlined by staff. Any members of the public present will then be permitted to ask questions or provide comments respecting the applications. Any persons making representation are requested to first state their name and mailing address. Please note that presentations are limited to 10 minutes. By the committee prior to making a decision on the applications. If you wish to be notified of a decision of the committee, you must file a written request for notification. And we're going to move on to the first item, McWilliam, and Kelsey's going to speak to it. And if Councillor Fitzgerald can take his video down, I'd appreciate that. Awesome.
I'll just set up my screen. It's the first time I'm doing this, so hopefully everything goes smoothly.
Wonderful. All right.
Sorry, just quickly. Is everybody able to see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just having a hard time seeing my notes, so
Okay.
this is always an issue. Kristen had the same problem last time. Sorry about this.
That's
I
all right. Take
did,
your
and
time.
it's really hard when you've got the two screens trying to get the right one to show up so you can still see what you're meant to be reading.
It worked in the practice session, but today's not working the same way. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Kelsey, I can't remember what I did so that I could do both at the same time. Otherwise, I would try and help.
Thank you. Yeah, it worked yesterday with Richard and Adam. It's just posing a bit of an issue now. I wish I could do it from memory, but I'm not that good. Okay.
Maybe if you do it from that screen, but enlarge the picture.
This screen, enlarge the picture.
She needs the notes.
Of course, this has to go. Well, I can present from this screen, but it's not optimal. Whatever you guys prefer.
I think that will work, will it not, Chair Stone? Is that?
I think that's fine. Can everyone see it? Does anybody have a problem seeing it?
Nope.
All right, so let's work with this.
Okay, apologies.
No worries.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. Through you, the subject property is located at 171 Laneige Avenue. The lot is designated waterfront and is zoned Shoreline Residential 1. The application has been submitted to permit a 111 square meter two-story garage as seen displayed in the sketch. A minor variance is required to exceed the 60 square meter provision for two-story garages within the SR1 zone. The proposed garage is in keeping with the design elements of the existing dwelling and has minimal visual impact along the water, as it will be hidden by the dwelling and existing vegetation. The garage also reflects the scale of the dwelling and surrounded waterfront residential character. Constraint mapping identifies type 1 fish habitat abutting the proposed development. However, the proposed garage is outside of the 30-meter front yard setback required for buildings abutting type 1 fish habitat, mitigating potential risk. Conditions to require the original shoreline allowance closure and revegetation of the shoreline buffer through site plan control are recommended. The application was circulated in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. No concerns or objections have been raised. The application would appear to conform to the intent of the official plan and be consistent with the provincial policy statement. Additionally, the application appears to satisfy the 4 tests of the minor variance as set out in the Planning Act, and therefore staff are recommending approval. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks very much. I'll call on the applicant or the representative to make any comments about the application.
The applicant or their representative are reminded to use the raised hand button or press *9 on their telephone to indicate that they would like to address committee. And Chair Stone, I can confirm we do have one hand raised. Please note that during the transition, your video panel will be momentarily interrupted. Once you've been added to the meeting, your video will appear in the committee panel. Please have your microphone and video, if possible, turned on before you begin speaking, and please confirm your name and mailing address.
Good morning, Chair Stone, members of committee, and staff.
Good morning.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Jeff McWilliam, and I am at 171 Lineage Avenue in Port Sydney, Ontario, P0B1L0. And simply just wanted to say thank you for considering this application. I moved into Muskoka in 2011, and the garage has been a dream of mine since that very time. So I know with the cost of things right now, it's probably not the most ideal time to be building. However, we do want to get some plans in place and potentially move this forward should committee allow. So just appreciate you considering it and the opportunity to address you folks today.
All right, thanks very much. If you could just mute your microphone and take your video down, thank you. Is there any member of the public that wishes to speak to this application?
Members of the public are reminded to use the raised hand button or press *9 on their telephone to indicate that they would like to address committee. And Chair Stone, I actually can confirm there is one hand raised.
All right.
A reminder to please have your microphone and video, if possible, turned on, and please confirm your name and mailing address before you begin your comments.
Can you hear me?
I can. How are you?
Very well, thank you. My name is Kathy Carley. My address is 155 Lineage Avenue in Port Sydney, P0B1L0. I understand from the opening statements that there were no objections. However, I did send an objection today and just wonder if it has been read by committee.
Committee hasn't seen it. Could you just describe your objection, please?
In order to build the garage in the site proposed, over 25 towering pines and deciduous trees are needed to be cut down and removed. My concern is the number of trees that have to be cut down. As well, there is a ravine and steep bank with a stream a few feet from the proposed site. My concern is with the trees being cut down, there's erosion, interference with the water runoff and the stream. As well, concerned about precedent setting. If this approval goes through, there are other neighbors on the road interested in building garages. If approval is put through, then other approvals would be given for oversized garages on the road with natural habitat destruction.
All right, thank you for that. I will tell you that there really is no precedent. Every file is dealt with individually.
Okay.
But I appreciate the information and your concerns. Thanks very much. If I can at this point, just ask Kelsey to speak to tree removal and any issues with runoff into this stream, apparently.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The town currently does not have a tree bylaw, and nothing was identified under natural constraints under our official plan for in terms of the tree habitat here for deer wintering, for instance. I don't have anything to comment on in terms of the ravine, but maybe Kirsten or Richard would have something to talk about for that.
Just for our own view, could you put a picture of the site back up again, just so we can see the trees?
Yes, let's see if I do better at screen sharing this time. Oops. Can you see? So I actually have a photo of the ravine described here. And this is the site of the garage.
So right where that shed and the boat is?
Right along here is where the garage is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Partially on the driveway, I guess, or?
I think it's further set back, but yeah, the ravine just lies this direction. If my cursor is showing up.
Yep, yeah, we see it. All right, thank you very much.
No problem.
Chair Stone, perhaps if I could, so with respect to the ravine, it is shown in mapping, and I'm just wondering, Kelsey, in terms of a setback, how would you describe the distance between the garage and the ravine?
I'll bring back up the sketch again just so we could see. So here's the proposed garage, and the ravine is here. We have setbacks to cold and warm water streams. A setback wasn't indicated from the ravine on the sketch.
All right, thank you very much. All right, thank you, Mrs. Carley, for that.
If I may, the ravine is only a few feet from the top corner.
All right. Thank you for the information.
Where Kelsey had pointed, it actually curves closer to the garage than where her cursor went.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you for that. If you could, we're going to have Sam take you out of the meeting at this point, and I'm going to ask for any other comments from other members of the public that would like to speak to this.
Thank you.
Members of the public are reminded to use the raised hand button or press *9 on their telephone to indicate that they would like to address committee. Chair Stone, I can confirm there are no hands raised.
All right, thank you very much. Members of committee, any comments or questions? Mr. Donald.
Thank you, Chair Stone. Since we're discussing a minor variance, principally about allowing an increase in the size of the garage, we're not actually at the construction section or phase. What are the opportunities under site plan control to mitigate any impact on the ravine?
Kelsey or Richard?
Yep, I can answer that. So through site plan control, there are opportunities to put in conditions to have more vegetation around the area to mitigate risk to the ravine revegetation.
Thank you.
And I can add too, Chair Stone, that through site plan, we can, and we have attended the site, but we can attend the site to delineate that feature and ensure that it's meeting all zoning requirements. And we can do that through the site plan process.
And would that be limiting the amount of trees that come down as well?
Not necessarily limiting the amount of trees, but by virtue of maintaining the appropriate setback, it could have that positive impact.
Okay, thanks very much. Any other questions of the committee? Helena Renwick.
Thank you, Chair Stone. Not so much a question, but a comment. Kelsey, I just wanted to say, if this was your first presentation to our committee, I must commend you on the photos that you've taken. You take a lot of photos and they are very elaborate and very detailed. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Kelsey, I do have a question about height. The height is not going to be any higher than the house itself, correct?
No, I believe not. It was included in the application and I could find that detail, but I believe it's the same as the dwelling.
All right.
Sorry, I'm just looking for the detail.
That's all right.
It was documented as a 2-story garage. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time finding the exact detail, but I will, if you guys want to continue, I can find that and report on that. Oh, maybe Kristen.
I was just, thank you. I was just going to mention that in essence, because of the type of roof truss that's proposed for this structure, it is considered a 2-story garage. However, it's not a full 2-story garage that we would anticipate it would be. It's more like 1.5 story. It's just because of the type of roof truss that it's counted as 2 stories. And that's where it's almost a technical provision in the zoning bylaw that requires the minor variance in this instance. There is some area on the upper level that would be used for storage, but it's not a full wall height necessarily. So the height of the wall for the lower part of the garage, I believe, is just over 9 feet, and then it's a roof line above that. So
perfect. That explains my question fully. Thanks very much. All right. Any other questions of committee? All right, then I'll read the motion. Moved by Helena Renwick, seconded by Kenneth Donald. Be it resolved that minor variance application A04-2021 HTE be approved. The purpose and effect of which is to provide relief from subsection 3.1.15.3C to permit an increase in the size of a 2-story detached garage from 60 square meters to 111 square meters, conditional on the original shore road allowance being stopped up, closed, and sold to the landowner, the owner revegetating the shoreline buffer to the satisfaction of the town of Huntsville to be implemented through site plan control. Any comments or questions? All in favor? And that's carried. All right. Get Councillor Fitzgerald back. There he is. All right. Kelsey, you're doing the next one. Correct, Hayes? I don't know how to. North Menominee Lake Road.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll try to get the screen sharing right. Again, the same thing. Sorry, I might have to continue in the same manner I did before.
Okay, if I will tell committee, if anyone has difficulty seeing any part of it, by all means, step in and we'll take a better look at it. But if Kelsey, if you can go ahead like you did the last one.
Thank you very much for your understanding.
No worries.
Great. And if everyone can see, I will proceed. So thank you again, Mr. Chair and committee. Through you, the subject property is located at 227 North Lake Menominee Road. The lot is designated waterfront and is zoned shoreline residential 3. The application has been submitted to permit an addition to an existing non-complying dwelling. A minor variance is required to recognize the non-complying side and front yard setbacks for an existing deck and dwelling. In addition to permitting a further reduction in the front yard setback and increased primary lot coverage for the proposed 45.2 square meter addition, as seen in the sketch. The proposed accessory lot coverage would additionally be reduced. According to official plan policies, development other than permitted shoreline structures should be set back a minimum of 20 meters from warm water lakes. The proposed addition maintains the same setback as the existing dwelling and deck. However, it further develops the shoreline without mitigating the risk to the land-water interface. As noted in the staff report, official plan policies indicate that prior to considering planning applications with insufficient fish habitat information, a technical report shall be required. In this instance, staff requested that a fish habitat assessment be conducted to characterize the fish habitat in front of this property and determine whether additional development could be supported in accordance with the applicable protection requirements. However, no assessment was conducted as the proponent preferred to proceed with the variance applicant request without the supporting information. The application was circulated in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act and to the Lake Menominee Association. No concerns or objections have been raised. To conclude, the application does not meet the intent of the zoning bylaw as the lot requirements are not achieved and the addition is not optimally sited. The application also does not meet the intent of the official plan and is not consistent with the provincial policy statement. As a fish habitat assessment was not provided in order to appropriately characterize whether type 1 fish habitat exists in front of the property. Therefore, the application does not satisfy the 4 tests of a minor variance as set out in the Planning Act. Staff are recommending denial. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thanks very much. I'll call on the applicant or their representative to speak to this application.
The applicant or their representative are reminded to use the raised hand button or press *9 on their telephone to indicate that they would like to address committee. And Chair Stone, I can confirm we do have one hand raised.
Okay.
So I will move them into the meeting now. As a reminder, please have your microphone and video, if possible, turned on before you begin speaking, and please confirm your name and mailing address.
Good morning. My name is Jessica Coker. I am at 5 River House Lane, Huntsville, Ontario, P1H2J3. I'm representing the applicant or the client today. Good morning, Chair, committee members. I want to touch base just on the reasoning as to why staff don't support the application and the request for the fish habitat impact assessment. I understand that the planning department has the obligation to request this when building within the shoreline setback. I believe the request for this in our scenario is more of a formality, as the proposed addition will not be any closer to the shoreline than the existing structure. Therefore, there should be no disturbance of the shoreline. It is my understanding that if we did agree to proceed with the fish habitat impact assessment, then the planning department would have no issues supporting the application. Ideally, we are requesting to waive the need for the fish habitat impact assessment study, as we do believe it to be unnecessary for what we are proposing, given the fact that we won't be any closer to the shoreline than the existing cottage. I'm happy to answer any further questions. Thank you.
So you stated that if we had the fish habitat study, then staff would be okay with this? Can I ask staff if that's the case?
Thank you. So the fish habitat study would indicate if it's type 1 or type 2 fish habitat. If it was type 1 fish habitat, they might offer mitigation strategies, so we wouldn't be sure of our conclusion without the study.
That's fair. Any questions by committee for the applicant? Helena Renwick.
Thank you, Chair Stone. That was my question as well. If they had done the study, would that have affected the outcome of this proposal? So sorry, the question I guess has been answered. But it still sounds like it's not definite, is it? Depending on what type of fish it is, the habitat. So, okay, thank you.
I would just like to add as well, we were only notified last week that this was a requirement, which didn't leave us much time to get that done. We thought we would, I guess, get the opinion of the committee members to see how to proceed. But again, ideally, we don't think it's necessary, but that will be up to you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Coker. If you could stay with us, but mute your microphone and turn your video off for us, please. So I will ask, is there any member of the public that wishes to speak to this application?
Members of the public are reminded to use the raised hand button or press *9 on their telephone to indicate that they would like to address committee. And Chair Stone, I can confirm we do have one hand raised. Sorry, they keep. Yep, okay, that is raised. Just as a reminder, please ensure that you have your microphone and video, if possible, turned on, and please confirm your name and mailing address before you begin your comments.
Mute it right here. Hi, my name is Tony Karekis, and I'm the property owner. I raised my hand earlier, but then Jessica had covered that we were only asked for the fish habitat a week ago or a week before this meeting. The design that Jessica made actually goes backwards from the cottage, so it goes out to the side a little bit, but near the back end of the cottage and then further back up the hill. So as Jessica pointed out, our current cottage is further forward than the addition. So Jessica's feeling was over the last week that we could do without the fish habitat assignment if the committee was willing.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Is there any other member of the public that wishes to speak to the application?
Members of the public are reminded to use the raised hand button or press *9 on their telephone to indicate that they would like to address the committee. Chair Stone, I can confirm there are no hands raised.
Thank you very much. Members of committee, any comments or questions? Mr. Donald.
Thank you, Chair Stone. I don't think it's unreasonable to expect a fish habitat report to be provided. So I'm inclined to lean towards having the fish habitat provided for the committee to make a decision. What does that mean for this application if we deny it just now? Can the applicant come back with a new application at some point?
Kelsey or Richard?
Oh.
Or Director Maxwell, somebody.
I'm just going to butt in, Kirsten, if that's okay with you. Through you, Chair Stone, it's a very good question, Ken. And if you make a decision, then the decision would be final. So if you're thinking that you would like to give the applicant some time to provide that study, then I think you'd be leaning towards a deferral, if that makes sense.
Mr. Donald?
So thank you, Chair Stone, and thank you, Richard. So through you, I guess, perhaps to Mr. Karekas, is a deferral, does that work for you?
Yes, it would. If you feel you can't make a decision without the fish habitat study, then a deferral would be fine.
Thank you.
Another follow-up?
Yeah, sorry, Chair Stone, but thank you. I just need to clarify my thought processes. So do we need to make an amendment to this to defer, or do we go to vote to defer? I'm not sure of the process.
Okay, so let's just continue the questions here first. Can I ask Kelsey, so this is a legal non-conforming structure that's close to the waterfront, and the addition will be equally as close, not farther back. Is that correct?
It is, yeah, not an existing non-complying dwelling and deck. And I'll just bring up the sketch so you guys can see it again. So we could have the. So the dwelling, the addition is a bit further back. It's 9.9 meters, but it's not much difference to what's existing.
All right, thank you very much. I must say that I'm not that comfortable with putting more of an addition that close to the water. If it was at the back of it, that would be different for me. Mrs. Renwick.
Yeah, Chair Stone, thank you. Some of the language that was used as well around the report, just saying that it would overwhelm the shoreline with development, as well as the natural shoreline is not preserved. So those are two things that were brought up. And again, I'm still trying to understand, it's a non-conforming, a non-complying initial structure, the cottage itself. So now adding on to it, I just, when I see those words in the report, I think, okay, we are developing really close to the shoreline because the original structure is that close as well. So I have concerns of that nature as well. So
do I. Any other comments of committee? Mr. Stapleton.
Thank you, Chair Stone. Through you to Kelsey. Whether it's type 1 or type 2 fish habitat, is it still going to infringe on the setback requirements, whether it's either or, if they do the study?
So currently for a warm water lake, which Lake Menominee is, it's a 20-meter setback that's required. For type 1 fish habitat, there's a greater setback required that is 30 meters. So there is a difference depending on what habitat it is. I don't know if Kirsten or Richard have anything further to comment on that.
Thank you, Chair Stone. I was just going to add that the shoreline buffer area that we always try to have maintained is 15 meters. So the existing cottage is within that 15 meters as well. So there are significant setback decreases if it would be considered a type 1 sensitive fish habitat, as Kelsey noted.
All right. Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Chair Stone. I was just trying to pull up the picture and I had a technical glitch there. But where does the new addition fall in relation to the 30-meter setback or 20-meter setback if it's type 1? Like, if the building's there already, I'm trying to find the picture. Sorry, be patient with me. Give me a second. Is there dimensions on the
Mr.
picture?
Karakis, we're with staff and committee right now. Actually, if you could turn your video off, that would be great. Thank you.
Kelsey, do you have measurements on your
Would it be
sketch?
helpful to have the sketch up again on the screen?
Yeah, I'm trying to see and enlarge mine and see if there is actual. Okay, it looks like it's 9.9 meters to the corner of the front addition. So yeah, I agree with my other committee members that the study should be done.
I'm a little disappointed that the application came forward without all the information requested by staff as well. Anyways, if there's not another motion by a committee, then I'll read the motion in front of me. Okay. Councillor Fitzgerald, did you have something?
Yeah, I think we should. I'm just trying to. Sorry, I'm navigating a new system here, so I'm trying to go back to the motion because, and I apologize, everyone. So we actually don't want to deny this. We want to defer this, correct? The motion says denied. So we want to defer it until we receive a fish habitat study. That would be my motion.
All right, Mr. Donald.
Thank you, Chair Stone. My sense is that we may have a little bit of a divide on the committee, that some of us may be leaning towards a deferral pending the fish habitat study being submitted. But I get a sense that others are leaning towards a degree of discomfort with having development at 9.9 meters from the shoreline. I'd be reluctant to ask the applicant to spend money on a fish habitat study only to come back and then have a say, well, you're still within 9.9 meters, so we're not going to have that, so you're denied again. So I think it's fair for us to get a committee position on where we think the development exists. If we're uncomfortable with that, then it's only fair to go back to the applicant and say, this design doesn't work. Just my thoughts.
Well, I can read the motion, and if it's defeated, then something else could be brought forward. If it's accepted, then it's denied. So, Councillor Fitzgerald, matter of procedure, did you put a motion on the floor?
Yes.
I'm sorry, that was a yes?
Yes. Can you hear me? Yes.
All right. Yes. All right. Then I don't have any paperwork in front of me, but I will ask all those in favor of deferral. Opposed? All right. So we will get the paperwork for deferral put up here.
Good afternoon, or sorry, good morning. I'm already skipping to the afternoon. I will just craft that. So if I could respectfully request just a moment to clarify the language, and then I can put something up on the screen.
Okay. All right, if there's no objection, actually, so moved by Jason Fitzgerald, seconded by Helena Renwick. Be it resolved that the matter of minor variance application A1 be postponed until the required fish habitat assessment be provided to staff. Comments or questions? All in favor? And that's carried. Sorry, just one second here. All right. All right. So that has been deferred. Kelsey, you're still up. We're going on to the Crowder application.
That is correct. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe I've figured out my screen sharing issue, so we'll see if this works. Great. Thank you again, Mr. Chair and committee. Through you, the subject property is located at 241 Town Line Road East. The lot is designated waterfront and is zoned shoreline residential 4. The application has been submitted to permit a 2-story addition to an existing 2-story dwelling. A minor variance is required to permit a reduction in the front yard setback for a building abutting type 1 fish habitat. The 51 square meter addition would be connected to the existing dwelling and deck, and relief will be limited to the proposed addition. The minor variance will also recognize the location of the existing dwelling within the 30-meter minimum of required front yard setback. It is noted that Fairy Lake is a cold water lake that contains lake trout habitat. A fisheries assessment was completed by Mikulski and Nielsen Associates Limited in support of this application. The report provided background on Fairy Lake fisheries, type 1 fish habitat, and the site conditions. The lake trout spawning shoal was identified at the waterfront. However, the report concludes the project can be implemented in a manner that fully protects any long-term values of the identified shoal while also mitigating potential short-term impacts. The mitigation measures are included in the report and shall be implemented through site plan control, shall the minor variance be approved. A condition to relocate the northern shed to comply with the 1.2 interior side yard setback is also recommended. The application was circulated in accordance to the provisions of the Planning Act and to the Fairy Lake Association. No concerns or objections have been raised. The application would appear to conform to the intent of the official plan and be consistent with the provincial policy statement. Additionally, the application appears to satisfy the 4 tests of a minor variance as set out in the Planning Act, and therefore staff are recommending approval. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks very much. I'll call on the applicant or representative to make any comments.
The applicant or their representative are reminded to use the raised hand button or press *9 on their telephone to indicate that they would like to address committee. And Chair Stone, I can confirm we do have 2 hands raised, so I will move them both into the meeting now. A reminder to please have your microphone and video, if possible, turned on before you begin speaking, and please do confirm your name and mailing address.
Good morning.
Good morning.
John P. Gallagher, John P. Gallagher Associates, 24 Hibbard Road, Huntsville, P18, 1C9. And I'm here on behalf of the Crowders. I think Kelsey has summarized the application well. There's a number of points that I wanted to raise. This property is located at the end of the Town Line Road, and if you review the pictures there, you can see it as a fairly constrained site, and there's only so much room for development to occur. There's a large bank that goes up to the rear of the site, and then it drops down in front of the cottage down to the water. Proposal is to allow an approximate 550 square foot addition to the north side of the dwelling, 20 meters from the fish habitat. As part of the application, staff had requested a fisheries assessment, and Milkowski Nielsen was retained in that regard and provided a report and an addendum to the report. The existing structure is approximately 16 by 34 feet on 2 levels to match the existing house, and the addition and dwelling are below the height requirements for the zone. Use of the additional floor space is desirable given the existing layout, size, and location of the existing dwelling in the subject lands. This is a large parcel, 4.3 acres with extensive frontage, 379 feet on Fairy Lake. The dwelling was legally built in its current location on the lot. There is a large hill to the rear that should be left in a natural state. And you also notice that there's a hydro line running along the base of that hill as well. Subject road or the subject lands are located at the end of the road on the right of way, and original shore road allowance leading to water abuts the land to the south. It is desirable to utilize the existing dwelling and property and allow for a small addition to that. Variance is minor in fact that the location of the addition is in close proximity to the existing building. The impact on adjacent properties is minimal, given that the building is set back 44 meters from the north property line and 51 meters from the south property line. The size of the addition is minor, as the combined lot coverage is approximately 2.6%, being well below the 5% coverage requirement. The existing septic can accommodate the size of the dwelling and addition. The setback from the type 1 has been reviewed by a biologist, and recommendations have been made to ensure orderly development of the lands adjacent to the lake. These recommendations will be implemented through site plan control, which is mandatory on all waterfront lots. And some of the recommendations, as we heard in the last, is the protection of the buffer. And in this regard, I believe the biologist has actually recommended that the 18-meter setback be buffered. Also through the use of stormwater silt curtains to ensure that there's no negative impacts during the course of construction. And again, that's implemented through the site plan agreement. And as well, they also had a requirement for small rain gardens to direct the roof runoff so that it's infiltrated into the ground and not overflowing. The general area, it's logical to allow the addition in this as the area is generally clear, and we wouldn't want to alter more of the natural landscape to achieve a 30-meter setback. The proposal does not offend any other of the lot requirements of the SR4 zone. It's in keeping with the intent of the official plan, as the owners are utilizing existing dwelling and property that's currently zoned. The location of the addition has the least impact on the natural lay of the land and the least impact on the fisheries as outlined in the Milkowski report. 15-meter buffer will be maintained on the lot. Professional technical review supports the addition in this location. The built form does not dominate the shoreline. The natural vegetation does, and that's reflected in the photographs. The site is significantly larger than most waterfront lots around the lake, and the owner has retained and will continue to retain significant vegetation throughout the site. Building is low profile, and it's not above the tree canopy as the land rises to the rear. I'd be glad to answer any questions should you have any, and I see my client Robert is also standing by there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Crowder, do you have anything to add that we haven't already heard?
Yes, two things. Number one, first of all, Robert Crowder, 241 Town Line Road East, P1H1R1. Two things. First of all, thank you, Chair Stone and councillors and staff for hearing this application. I personally am an avid fisherman and have never caught a fish in front of our cottage ever, so I don't think there's any fish there. Number one. And number two, I understand Kelsey's very new in your in town employment. She visited our property a couple of days ago to take some photographs. She was incredibly professional and incredibly polite. So I think she's an asset to your town. So thank you very much. But I think John summed everything up perfectly well in our application.
Thank you for saying that. All right, if you guys could just remove your video, and I'll ask any members of the public that wishes to speak to the application.
Members of the public are reminded to use the raised hand button or press *9 on their telephone to indicate that they would like to address the committee. Chair Stone, I can confirm there are no hands raised.
Thanks very much. Members of the committee, any comments or questions? All right, then I will read the motion. Moved by Kenneth Donald, seconded by Helena Renwick. Be it resolved that minor variance application A14-2021 HTE be approved, the purpose and effect of which is to provide relief from subsections 3.5 and 5.3.4 of the Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2008-66P. In order to recognize the location of the detached dwelling within the 30-meter minimum required front yard setback for a lot abutting type 1 fish habitat, and to reduce from a type 1 fish habitat from 30 meters to 20 meters for a 51.05 square meter addition only. Conditional on the northern shed be relocated to comply with the 1.2 meter interior side yard setback. Comments or questions? All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. All right, thanks, Kelsey. I think Adam's up. He's going to speak to the Nelson application.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Is everyone able to see that screen all right?
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The property is located at 93 Brunel Road. The lot is designated urban residential and is within the intensification corridor. The lot is zoned residential type 2. The applicant is proposing to reduce the frontage for the residential lot from 15 meters to 13.2 meters for a provisionally approved lot. This was done via application B28-2020. A minor variance is required to recognize the resulting deficient frontage for the severed lot in order to maintain the minimum required side yard setback for the single detached dwelling on the lot to be retained to the immediate south. As you can see on the sketch here, you can see the existing location of the dwelling. And based on the definition of frontage in the town zoning bylaw, it's measured at the front yard setback. So although they're maintaining 15 meters directly along Brunel Road, the measurement for the frontage provision is actually taken 10 meters back. And based on the location of the existing dwelling to the immediate south, when a recent survey was conducted, it was determined that 13.2 would adequately address the setback between the existing one-story dwelling and the new lot line. As a result, the applicants have applied for a minor variance. Staff are of the opinion that the application will maintain the previous approvals granted on the application, and further that the application maintains the intent of both the town zoning bylaw and the official plan. The application was circulated in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act, and no concerns or objections have been raised. It would appear the application, as mentioned, is consistent with both the official plan and the provincial policy statement, and further meets all 4 tests for a minor variance as set out in the Planning Act. Therefore, staff are recommending its approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions you all have.
Thanks very much. I'll call on the applicant or representative to make any comments.
The applicant or their representative are reminded to use the raised hand button or press *9 on their telephone to indicate that they would like to address the committee. Chair Stone, I can confirm we do have one hand raised, so I will move them into the meeting now. As a reminder, please have your microphone and video, if possible, turned on before you begin speaking, and please do confirm your name and mailing address.
Mr. Dennis?
Yep. Good morning, Chair Stone, Committee. Lanny Dennis, Wayne Simpson and Associates, 3-76 King William Street, Huntsville, Ontario, P1H24. Represent the owner. I think that's a fair and accurate assessment of the proposal presented by the town planner, and appreciate working with and the efforts and assistance of staff bringing the application forward, and concur with their recommendation to approve the application. Yeah, the recent survey identified that the dwelling to the south was marginally closer to the lot line than what was expected, and I'm a little bit perplexed because we were utilizing a survey at the time. Anyways, the pinch point occurred at the most inopportune location. It just happens to be at the 7-meter front yard setback. So anyways, the variance itself is not changing an existing situation. The side yard setback has been maintained, the 1.5-meter side yard setback from the dwelling to the south, so to ensure compatibility. It maintains the 15-meter frontage at the street line, albeit it's 13.2 meters when you measure back. So in my opinion, it should be fairly straightforward. It's almost a technical exercise in terms of how you determine frontage, and it's in an area where the residential intensification is supposed to occur. It makes for a perfect infilling situation. So in my respectful submission, I believe it passes the 4 tests, as do staff, and hoping that committee will approve the application. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Yeah, if you could just take your video down and stay with us. And I will ask, is there any member of the public that wishes to speak to this application?
Members of the public are reminded to use the raised hand button or press *9 on their telephone to indicate that they would like to address the committee. Chair Stone, I can confirm there are no hands raised.
Thanks. About the application? All right. Moved by Brandon Stapleton, seconded by Jason Fitzgerald. Be it resolved that minor variance application A10-2021 HTE be approved, the purpose and effect of which is to provide relief from subsection 5.2.4 in order to reduce the required lot frontage in a residential 2 zone from 15 meters to 13.2 meters. Comments? All in favor? And that's carried. All right, Adam, you've got our final application, Ainger and Doyle.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just let me get my screen shared. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, the subject property is located at 39 Shaw Crescent. The lot is zoned residential 1 and is designated within our urban residential designation in our official plan. The applicant is proposing to construct an addition to an existing sunroom on the subject property. A minor variance is required to facilitate the addition and is only to be applicable for the sunroom and its associated stairs as seen on the sketch. The applicant has also indicated that the existing sunroom on the property maintains a setback of 8.5 meters, which is currently 1.5 meters deficient of the zoning provisions. The proposed expanded sunroom will project 0.6 meters further toward the rear property line that is currently on site. As noted in staff's report, the intent of the provisions for the rear yard setback is to maintain adequate amenity area for the subject lands. Staff are of the opinion that the proposal will still continue to maintain this amenity space, and further that the neighboring property to the immediate south is a high density residential use, and it's not anticipated that there to be any negative impacts with this decreased setback. Staff are of the opinion that the proposal maintains the intent of our official plan respecting urban residential areas. Sorry, my apologies there for the site photos. The application was circulated in accordance with the Planning Act, and at the time of the report being written, no objections or concerns have been received. Staff are of the opinion that the proposal is consistent further with the provincial policy statement and does satisfy the 4 tests for a minor variance as set out in the Planning Act. As a result, staff are therefore recommending approval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about the application.
Thank you very much. I'll call on the applicant or the representative to make.
The applicant or their representative are reminded to use the raised hand button or press *9 on their telephone to indicate that they would like to address the committee. And Chair Stone, I can confirm we do have one hand raised, so I will move them into the meeting now. As a reminder, please have your microphone and video, if possible, turned on before you begin speaking, and please do confirm your name and mailing address.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Shaylin Costello. I'm a planner for Marie Poirier Planning and Associates, located at 44 King William Street, Unit A in Huntsville, P1H1C3. Today, I am representing and supporting our clients, Mr. Ainger and Ms. Doyle, who own the property located at 39 Shaw Crescent in Huntsville. First of all, thank you to committee for taking the time to hear this application our firm has prepared. On behalf of our clients, we're seeking relief from the rear yard setback to construct a new 3-season sunroom on their property. And thank you, Adam, for your presentation. And we really appreciate all the assistance that we received from the Town of Huntsville planning staff. And we do concur with the staff that the subject application is appropriate and represents good planning. And we support the recommendation for approval. Furthermore, we concur that the application is minor in nature and maintains the intent of both the district and town official plans and the zoning bylaw. With that said, I'm here to answer any questions you may have with respect to the application we've put forth. Thank you.
Thanks very much. If you could stay with us, but take your video down, and I will ask if there's any member of the public that wishes to speak to the application.
Members of the public are reminded to use the raise hand button or press *9 on their telephone to indicate that they would like to address committee. Chair Stone, I can confirm there are no hands raised.
Thanks very much. Committee members, any comments or questions? Mrs. Renwick.
Thank you, Chair Stone. It's more of a comment too. I find that when you see the drawing itself, it doesn't have the actual, the existing porch or sunroom. It does have the proposed. So I always like to see the difference between, you know, what was there before versus what's coming. So, I mean, this is not an extremely difficult proposal, but I'm just, in future, it'd be nice to have that information to see what's there now versus what's going to happen. And I think it does happen on certain occasions. We get that, but anyway.
Thank you for that. And I agree. On several of the applications today, I would have liked to have seen the drawings a little bit
More detailed.
And I do like all the pictures that we're getting to.
Yes.
All right, so back to the application at hand. Any other comments or questions? All right. Moved by Jason Fitzgerald, seconded by Kenneth Donald. Be it resolved that my 2021 HTE be approved. The purpose and effect of which is to provide relief from subsection 5.2.4 in order to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 10 meters to 7.9 meters for a sunroom and associated stairs only. Final comments? All in favor? And that's carried. All right. Now that all comments have been received, I declare these public meetings respecting the above applications to be concluded. And as we don't have any new business, I have a motion. Moved by Helena Renwick, seconded by Brandon Stapleton. Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 10:12 a.m. All in favor? Woohoo! Carried. Thanks, guys.